Okay, this time we're going to begin to go through the questions that I gave to you on Moodle. These are the questions about the Constitution. It's going to take a while to go through all those questions, so I'm just going to take 4 or 5 right now, and I'll do more later on. So we're in the legislative branch, Article 1, and so question A, how many houses in the U.S. legislature? Turns out, as I'm sure most of you know, there's two. There is the House of Representatives and also the US Senate. Okay? And why is there two houses of the legislature? Well, the idea is, remember, use political power to control political power. So the idea is that no one branch has total legislative power. So the two of them fight each other all the time. And you look at what takes place in our country, the negotiations over the stimulus package in relation to the coronavirus. You see the House and the Senate are arguing over what should be in that package before they finally came to a deal. So the idea is very simple. You split power. Okay, and remember, that's the genius of the Constitution. So not Thomas Jefferson, George Washington once said, the idea is that the House of Representatives is like a teacup, and you pour the passions of the people into that teacup, makes it hot. And as a consequence, the teacup can be hard to handle if it has all the passions of the people in it. So, therefore, you need a saucer underneath the teacup. The saucer is the Senate. The saucer is supposed to allow you to handle the passions of the people, but not get burned in the process. So the Senate, the saucer, is therefore there simply to control the passions. Think about the broader national interest. Remember, the House gets elected every 2 years, the Senate every 6 years. The House has to represent what the people want. The Senate, they can back up a little bit. Okay, so that's question one. How many houses in the U.S. legislature? Two, House and Senate. What should be the qualifications to be in the House and the Senate? Okay, what we're doing is talking about Article 1 of the Constitution, where it lays out all this stuff about the legislative branch. So in the House of Representatives, you have to be 25 years old. You have to be 7 years a citizen, and you have to live in the state that you want to represent. Okay? Makes a lot of sense. For the Senate, you have to be 30 years of age, 9 years a citizen, so you're more committed supposedly to the country, and you also have to live in the state. Okay? So, pretty basic stuff. 25 to be in the House, 30 to be in the Senate, and you have to be a citizen, 7 years in the House, 9 years in the Senate, and please live in the state that you're trying to represent. Okay? It's not asking that much, I don't think. Okay, I do want to bring up about this. Can you be elected if you aren't yet 25? Can you be elected in the House of Representatives? Or if you're not yet 30 in the Senate? And the answer is yes, you can. But, and this is a big but, you can't serve until you've reached your 25th or your 30th birthday. And this has actually happened. We have had people who have run for the Senate, for the House of Representatives, and they're 24. We've had people run for the Senate who are 29. They cannot serve until they've had their birthday, because that's what the Constitution says. So the people in those districts, they're electing someone who can't yet serve, but that's okay. They elect him anyway. All right. Okay. How big should the Congress be? This is question C on my list under Article 1. How big should the Congress be? That's not an easy question. The Constitution says that there should be one representative for every 30,000 people. Okay? If that were true, there would be about 11,000 people in our House of Representatives, because that's how many people we have. Remember, we have almost 330 million people. Okay, so one representative for every 30,000 people works out to be about 1,100 representatives. So that's just unworkable. So what they've settled on is in the House of Representatives, there's 435 representatives. And why is it 435? And by the way, this was set in the 1890s, I believe. Why was it set at 435? Pretty simple. That's as many seats as they could get in there. Okay, so that's why it's set at that limit. That's the number of people that can fit in the room. So therefore, it's like, okay, there's 435 of us. We're going to stop right there. It turns out because of this, each member of the House of Representatives, because of our increasing population, represents almost 800,000 people. The idea was originally that you would represent like 30,000. Now it's 800,000 people. How do you represent that many people? That's really hard to do. Okay, by the way, the Senate, there's 2 per state. That's the way it's set. So we have 50 senators because we have 100 senators because there's 50 states. And that's easy. There's plenty of room if we have more states at some point in the future. Okay, and then the next question, what happens if a congressperson dies or quits during their term? This is question D. What happens if a congressperson dies or quits during their term? Well, believe it or not, it happens. The average age, especially in the Senate, is in the 60s. In the House, it's in the 50s. So you have people die, and this is the way it's always been. You have people die there. So what happens when a congressperson dies? When a member of the House of Representatives dies, the governor of the state calls a special election. So if you have a representative who dies in January, usually 3 to 6 months later, then you have another election in that district, and that person will represent them for a certain period of time until the next regularly scheduled election. Okay, so in the House of Representatives, the governor simply says, hey, we're going to call a special election. You people in that district get a vote again. In the Senate, if somebody dies or quits, well, then the governor gets to appoint somebody new. And this just happened at the end of 2019. A senator from the state of Georgia was very, very sick. And so he said, I got to retire. I can't do this anymore. So he notified the governor, and the governor appointed a new senator to represent Georgia. And so she is now the senator, and she will run for election in Georgia to serve officially. But that election will be at a normally scheduled November election time. Okay, so House, governor says people go vote. In the Senate, the governor says I'm going to appoint someone to that place. Okay, and then the last question, how long should the term be for a U.S. congressperson in the House or a senator in the Senate? Simple, I've already mentioned it. House, 2-year term, 2 years, that's it. Senate, 6 years. They have a longer term than the president has. It's not a bad job to be a senator. So 2 years, 6 years, then you get to run for re-election, and you can run as many times as you want. Okay, that's the first 5 questions under the legislative branch, Article 1. There'll be more later.